Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Trendy John over at Simpler Trading. Hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend. Today is the 5th of October, 2025. We're going to get started with this week's broad market analysis. Coming off of an inside and up formation just last week, is the market going to continue to rally? Instead of me coming up here and trying to figure out and tell the future, I think it's very important to reiterate, guys, that we are just here to trade price action. And I'm going to point out a couple things that lead or show probabilities that we could continue up. But first, we got to get over some levels, okay? So let's go ahead and get started with this week's US economic calendar. Basically, what we use this for is just to understand when catalysts are coming into the market that could cause volatility. Now, the idea is that Mel and I, we are always bringing you great levels, great process. And so, if anything, this is just going to lead price into those levels we talk about. And then our job is to take action there. So, on Monday, tomorrow, the 6th of October, 5 p.m., these are Eastern time. We have Kansas City Fed President Jeff Schmid speaking. And honestly, instead of me going through all of these, there's just a lot of people speaking this week, okay? A lot. We have some US trade deficit tomorrow, or sorry, on Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern time, and then we have consumer credit at 3. And as we move on into Wednesday, we're going to notice that we have minutes from the FOMC. And although they are minutes, we often hear, hey, they're minutes. They're from, last time. Because of that, um, a lot of people think we won't see volatility, but the truth of the matter is we do get a little bit of volatility. And I must add also, they have suspended, I guess, data for right now, as long as the government is shut down. So some of these things that I'm going over may not happen. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on into Thursday. We have 8:30 initial jobless claims, but right before or at the same time, the timing of this is very crucial. I think it's very interesting. So about an hour before the market opens, we are going to hear Jerome Powell's opening remarks. So be aware. Just know that if you're trading Wednesday into Thursday, that first thing before the market even opens, Jerome's going to be speaking. Okay. As we move down, you'll see a lot of other speakers. And then on Friday, October the 10th, we have consumer sentiment and monthly U.S. federal budget. After that, I want to go ahead and start looking at this week's earnings. There's not a whole lot to look at. And we all know we're getting ready for financials. So that's what I'd be really keeping my eye on. But for now, this is the weekly schedule. Nothing really on here that I'm very interested in. If you are, just take note of that. There's a couple names here, Delta, PepsiCo. That's all I really see in applied. Or actually, yeah, just those two. All right. So pretty slow until we start seeing what I would do if you're new at this and you're interested. I'd be looking at JPM, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Citi, all those names, and just look on your platform and see when they are coming into their earnings. And that really kicks off the season, if you will. And we'll look here just in a few minutes. Okay. All right, after that, I want to take you to the bigger picture. Let's go ahead and X out of here. And that's going to be the quarterly candle on the SPY. And as I always say, this is what leads me in my portfolio. So the bigger picture is really what I'm focused on. And you can see here, it's a very beautiful chart. It feels a bit extended. So what I mean by that is from where price is and where the 9 EMA is. I'll leave it at this. Price always comes back to the 9 EMA. It's not if, it's when. So just keep note of that and notice where the 9 EMA is from an area of Fibonacci. It's actually very confluent with a great area of support. So if we were to come back into the 614 to 572 level, I would be looking to add into there for a possible run back into my 2025 projection. Okay. Now we are On that note, we are getting very close to the 2025 projection. And because of that, I'm looking for a little bit of resistance up here. Is it that important that we get to 675 at the moment? Not really. One other thing while we're sitting here, remember my forecast was we would see three white soldiers, just continuation candles that look like this. Okay, so I'm looking for that by the end of the year, but I want to take focus on this current candle and help you understand that it's just the beginning of the quarter, and this thing can change shape and do what it wants to do for a long time. So there's a possibility we could come inside for a bit, and that's where the market will be a little bit more difficult. At least that's what I'm anticipating. So a little bit of inside and down pressure for a little bit, and then I think we wrap around and then we move up even further into the projection area here on SPY. Okay. Now, again, price is king. We'll just keep following the trend, buying the dips until it doesn't work. But at some point, there is a possibility it doesn't work, and we do come in just a little bit more. And I'll show you that on some smaller time frames. So as we move on, here's the weekly. And as I said, on smaller time frames, this is where it's at for me as well for buying those dips. The first dip buy for me, if we were to come back, would be somewhere between 661 and 654. But that's not something I'm going to blindly buy because it's not that powerful. Meaning this move right here, it's not a powerful move. It'd be different if this candle looks something like this. Then I know that there would be a lot of imbalance down there and I'd be looking for buyers to step up. But at the moment, this is a pretty weak structure, if you will. I do take note of the green arrow, and our green arrows, as I've shown you many, many times, works very, very well. Typically, it's a buying opportunity, or I'm at least looking for continuation up. What I would say going into this week on the SPY is I need to see it prove itself over 673, or I'd rather buy down towards that 661 and 654 level. Okay, so although my banners are bullish and my overall sentiment is bullish, I prefer a little bit more of a neutral strategy going into this week. Okay. Now the bigger levels are further down, 647 by 625. And if we had a pretty big dip there, I think a lot of sentiment would be changing. I believe investors, traders would start looking at the market as, wow, maybe it doesn't end that well. But I think it does. I think that buyers come in, and I think we just project all the way back up to the all-time highs. Okay. But for now, let's just take it from a week to week. It is bullish. We are looking at buying dips, but these are the preferred dips for me where I'm looking to buy. Okay. Next thing we're going to be looking at is going to be the QQQ. And that is also my focus on the quarterly chart first, and then we'll go into the weekly. The quarterly, same thing. It's not about if, it's when. We do have a lot of, there's a big deviation between price and the 9 EMA. You'd have to ask yourself, is this normal? And you can go back and, you can get an idea of what's normal, meaning price from the 9 EMA to the extension to the upside. It's starting to look a little extended. I think we all agree with that. From a quarterly perspective, we've already hit the 2025 projection. My notes from last week were, according to my Nasdaq 2025 projection, we still have some room to move. 618 is really what I was looking for. It's kind of crazy because I feel like we're so close to it and we're not close to the end of the year yet. That's what really makes me feel like we could come in for a little bit and let the 9 EMA catch up just a tad. So I do anticipate the market becoming a little bit more difficult. But again, guys, price is king. So let's just keep our eyes on the levels. As of this week, going into this week, I think that, again, this chart's really going to help us out. The inside and up formation here, just like the SPY, it's not very powerful. So this bull channel that I have on here, I would expect buyers to show up, but I think it would be a relief bounce from here, so not very strong. And we could see price pull back a little bit further than that. But going into this week, this is going to be your support until proven otherwise. If you understand how 9 EMAs work, there's a couple things that could happen if we gap up or we move up into the first couple days before Jerome speaks. This will most likely come up into this bull channel, that 9 EMA there, and then this will really give me a lot of confluence, this move will look a little bit better. And I do believe if we were to come back there, it could be a buying opportunity. But again, kind of like the SPY, I feel like it's just going to be a relief bounce until proven otherwise. I'm not trying to sound, scared or anything like that. I'm just saying, looking at the levels, let's buy the dips, but let's buy them at the levels that we are looking for buyers to show up, not just, going, hey, it's a bullish market and let's just buy. I think that we just need to step with a little bit more caution as we get closer and closer, or into October, I should say. Okay. So, anyways, that's what I got for the Qs. The bigger bull channel is where I'd expect bigger buyers, and that's between 558 and 528. Really nice run this year. Things look great. Like I said, the quarterly just feels a little extended. Okay. Next thing I'm going to be looking at is going to be the dollar. So up here in Thinkorswim, we are going to place a dollar sign, DXY. Two different names are going to come up. Where I have annotated my levels is on that second one. And we're going to go into a weekly. And nothing's really changed for several weeks now. Matter of fact, things probably sound the same every time I go over the dollar, but we'll talk about it again. It hit our level. We anticipated that the dollar would move to the upside, and therefore we're looking for the market to get a little bit more difficult. I would say the last couple of weeks, although we're making highs, it's not been the easiest market, but also it's been fun, right? So the 98.20 level is a big level for me. Up and over that, I say be cautious. And if we were to come back into the 96.18, I would say be cautious. We're kind of in a neutral right now. So over that 98.20, caution. Down at 96.18, caution. In between that, just kind of intraday trading, if you will, with the rest of the market. Okay. All right. So moving on, the next instrument we're going to be looking at is going to be the TNX, or the 10-year Treasury. And not much has changed from there either. And matter of fact, I really don't think we need to bring it up. The TNX, the 10-year Treasury, I technically see it moving towards the 3.8, possibly into the end of the year here. I had previously said July timeframe, June, July, I think it was, and we got really, really close to it. But right now, we're just basically in between two major levels. And those two major levels, for me, I would just say, here it is right here. Sorry. So I would say, just neutral. I'm not really concerned about the 10-year Treasury. I'm not worried about news. I'm not worried about anyone trying to, put fear out there unless we get over this red box, which is around 5. And then again, my target is down here towards this green box around 3.8. Okay. So let's move this out of the way. Let's go ahead and move on. We're going to take a look at the skew. All right, guys, and the skew is just an indicator that I use in conjunction with everything else. I wouldn't want to make a trade just based off of solely the skew, but you will see levels here like this risk on for 5 days, risk on for 30 plus days. There are a couple things that we look at there. I wouldn't say that I blindly close it, but this level right here has worked for a very long time. Matter of fact, going back since 2024 to buy calls for about 5 days out. And basically what's happening here is if the market's moving down, this has kind of been that level of support in the market where, we start to hear a lot more fear, but this level's really been holding. And you can see here, if I go into 2023-ish, right in here, all the way there. It's worked over and over and over. So until it's proven otherwise, I'm going to buy, off of that fear at that first level. And if we get extreme fear, this is where the market will dump. And, a lot of people will look at this as, man, I haven't seen the market move like this in a very long time. Matter of fact, it's been since like end of 2023. Into 2024 since we had that kind of fear. So people are not used to it. But I'll tell you, this is my favorite in these areas because I just like buying fear, but not just the idea of buying fear, but also it needs to be, the SPY, the Qs, the Dow, all that stuff that I go over needs to be at levels first, and then I'll buy. It all just kind of like there's a lot of synergy there with these levels. I just want to make note of it. So just in case we get there, you guys know what my plan is. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on. The next thing we're going to be looking at is the fear and greed index. It's moved 1 point. Really interesting. It's just very, very neutral out there. Last week it was 53, now it's 54. So not quite greedy, but again, guys, people are just kind of, I feel like people are more or less just taking it from an intraday. And there's going to be some sort of, I would think so, a big shift pretty soon to kind of get us out of this um, neutral vibe that we're in. But at the same time, then I'm like, well, if we stay neutral for several weeks until we get to earnings, and honestly, I don't really want to short. Let's talk about that. I don't really want to short, you know, earnings cycle. And if anything, what I'd love to see, all right, what I'd love to see and what we get are two different things. But what I'd love to see is the market pull back into before we get ready for that earnings season. And again, remember I told you, let's just go ahead and look at JPM, get an idea of when these guys are reporting. And we're going to come down here and you're going to notice it's 1014. So this is the week where, if anything, if we were to get a strong pullback or some sort of pullback, this is where I'd probably start getting really interested into buying, earning run-ups and so forth. But a lot, hinges on this earnings season. Try not to get too involved with the news because, again, I always look at it as the market is just getting ready for earnings. So again, financials right around the corner, guys. Okay. All right, so the next thing that I want to be looking at right here is going to be futures. We're going to start with the ES futures, then we'll do the Nasdaq futures, and then I'll end with Bitcoin. ES futures on the weekly, we had an inside and up formation, just like the SPY. Again, I look for continuation to move off of this. Not a very strong move. What I'd like to do is say between 67.47 and 67.86, I'm neutral. Doesn't mean that I won't trade for a few points here and there on the mornings. We already know that. I'm just saying from a weekly standpoint, if we were to break down below 67.47, I'd be looking for a move back down to 66.96. Listen to me. All of this, there's timing as a variable. Like just because we blow under 67.47, it could be 2 minutes later we pop right back up and maybe we're starting to get signs that buyers are stepping in. So when I say that, please understand if you're not in the room, then you don't quite understand our methodology. Then I would really recommend that you guys come over to Simpler Trading, pay $7, hang out with us for a month, learn the methodology so that you can understand these levels a little bit more. Okay. Now, if we were to come back into this gray area down here, same thing as the SPY. It's not a powerful move. I would expect a bounce, but it may just be a relief bounce. I do have a video on relief bounces, so I would watch that so that you understand what that means. Again, the 9 EMA is down here. It's not about if, it's when. Timing is the variable, but this is an area that I would be looking for support more towards this green box. And we had this gap fill that happened, or sorry, this is a gap that happened from the contract rollover. I'm not saying that necessarily even has to be filled. Just note that it is there on the chart. Next thing we're going to be looking at is the daily. This is where I have triggers. Again, guys, triggers are not blind triggers. Basically, if price were to come down to there, we're looking at smaller time frames, looking to see if things, mesh, look like, hey, let's go ahead and take this trade. We are looking at smaller time frames based off of these triggers. Up here, I have resistance. I'm using the upper weekly edge. That is resistance until proven otherwise. And you'll also note that we came up and hit that round number and came right back down. Let's go to the 4 hour. The only thing that I'm really doing here is just making note of the weekly edges, 67.86 and down here at 66.93. We can do the math there and notice that the range this week is just a bit underneath 100. Could be kind of tight, kind of choppy, especially with all the Feds talking. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to go into the Nasdaq futures. And just as a reminder, guys, I do trade futures, I trade equity, and I trade options. And we teach all of that here in the Trendy room. So every morning we trade the futures, I would say for the first 30 minutes at least. And then we move on and we, check in our portfolio and so forth. And then we look for trade setups. It's fun. So again, please come out and join us. Over here on the Nasdaq futures on the weekly, we're looking at inside and up formation, same thing. pretty, it's weak at the moment. We do have a green arrow. We could see continuation. If we pull back, most likely it's just going to be a relief bounce. As of right now, resistance is around 25,132. And then if we extend over that, we could see 25,244 by 25,586. Moving on, we have our daily triggers. Just go ahead and take a picture of this if you will. Again, these are not blind recommendations to go long. These are just levels where I do believe buyers could show up, and then I'm going to go over and look at the smaller time frame. Let's go ahead and move on. We're going to look at the 4-hour. Again, guys, making you aware of what the weekly edges are for this week on the Nasdaq, 25,131, and then the lower edge down here at 24,694. The next thing that I want to talk about is Bitcoin. I was seeing things pop up on my Robinhood account. I do hold Bitcoin, and it's been really good to me this year. It actually makes up, I believe, I'd have to look again, but last time I checked, I think it was like 60% of my portfolio in a specific account. And again, it's done really well. My average, I think, is 70 or 84. Might be 84. Sorry, sometimes that that 80 number gets me confused with Nvidia because I bought Nvidia on the dip this past year, and my cost basis is down there at like 79 or 80 or something like that. So, anyways, Bitcoin on the quarterly, things are looking really good. This is what it looks like, three white soldiers at the moment. But again, guys, it's a quarter candle. A lot can change. Far as the neutral goes, it's between 113 and 110. I've been going over that for the last several weeks. I've never changed my tune. I was very bullish on Bitcoin, and you could see that it worked out really, really well. Last week, I want to go over this because when everybody was feeling bearish, we had the 2 weeks down. And this is why we talk about cycles, 2 to 3, and then we're looking for a bounce if we're at a level. And this is a bounce from hell, if you ask me, because if you were short or your idea was to be short in Bitcoin, you kind of got run over here. So we got the big move up, and the arrows kind of annotate or dictate what I think is going to happen. So this was from last week, these blues. So we did get the move up, and then we busted through here. We did get the move up this way. And I think, I was seeing something like on Robinhood yesterday that we got over 125. But the last time I checked, this stuff is kind of silly on here when I'm looking over the weekend. But like what I see live is that we're at 122.802. So we're down from where we were. But I don't really put a whole lot of emphasis on this right now. Anyways, our support for this week, 120 by 115. And if we were to move up and get it up over the highs of the year, obviously we'll just kind of take it from there. 125,200. And again, my projection is 138 by 167. Overall, I'm very bullish in the market, but again, you can hear it in my voice. There's a little bit. I mean, everything's really neutral, so we can still see things. It's just that we're kind of extended on these quarterlies, and I can't help to think that whatever, if it comes, if we get a pullback, I think it's going to be pretty fast and swift. It's going to allow us to catch up with that 9 EMA, and the buyers are going to swoop in, and we're going to get that end of the year run. And of course, I can be completely wrong. I was thinking about this the other day. It would be really crazy to think that we've had such a bullish year, and that the last several months could just be not that great, and the market not do well. That's hard for me to imagine at this point. Seems like we're doing really good. Things are, firing off. Everyone's having a great time. Let's continue that. And again, guys, I appreciate all your support. Just hit that like button, and we'll see you in the room 1.5 hours before the market opens. So make sure you're there. Can't wait to teach you guys and trade with you. Have a great one.